Hi, I'm Michael Buchwalder. You join me here today at Willen Lake in Milton Keynes. I'm going to show you my top tips to catch fish like this £10 bream. Let's get her back and show you how it's done. I'm going to talk you through my how I'd approach a session like this on a big open lake. As you can see, it's really windy. But last night, when the plan was action to start with, I came down about 7:30 last night with this feeder here. It's a big lake, so the fish could be anywhere. So I wanted to try and put a bit of bait in the area and hopefully not blank today, which is the aim of the game really. I'm not the best at pleasure fishing as such, but I need to try and give myself a challenge. The challenge was to try and catch a £10 bream out of a lake quite close to home. So as I said, last night I came down with a kilo of 2mm fin perfects, soaked them with the washed out, but funnily enough, this lake's really heavily carp-fished, so I put 2 tins of hemp in as well, just the fact that I thought a few fish might come in and grub around, and the bream are obviously going to be used to it. So that went in last night. We came out this morning. Obviously the wind's picked up a lot now. It's probably 18-mile-an-hour winds, gusting 25, so it's absolutely perfect for bream fishing. So with that set last night, I've got it this morning. I didn't want to go mad and start piling the bait in. So I had 5 feederfuls this morning, just with a normal sort of hexagon window feeder, just to sort of go steady. And after about 25 minutes, I've had a couple of indications it's gone round. I've had one about £8. I thought I'd done the target first cast of the day basically, but it wasn't to be. So I've carried on plugging away, and the results speak for themselves. I've had, I think, to this point now, we're maybe about 2.5 hours in the session. I've had 6 bream, and probably 3 of them have been double figures. But what's really interesting is, because the carp guys fish it so often, I've gone down the route of the new groundbait we're using at the moment is banoffee. It's really sweet groundbait. It smells amazing, and I've mixed that because it's so clear with the new Thatchers and a bit of F1 darks. I can't fish anywhere for bream or skimmers without F1 dark. But the idea with this mix is make it really sweet. Hopefully the bream have seen something similar and are not completely put off by the mix to start with. I didn't want to go complete, real strong, like 50-50 mix to start with, because didn't know what I was going to fish for. Maybe I was going to catch some skimmers or some roach, because I've not fished this lake for, well, I'm 40 years old now. I've probably not fished it for 20 years. But an amazing day, some brilliant bites, and just give yourself a chance to work with something. I've got a couple of tips to show you. I've been chopping my worms a different way. A lot of people chop the worms too fine, in my opinion, fishing for big fish like this. I've been experimenting with the fluoro rocks, so we'll go through that stage by stage and show you how to get the most out of them. I'm quickly going to run through the ground baits I've used today to target these big bream. As you'll see from my mix now and how I mix my ground baits up, I'm not into making it perfect potions and motions. I like to sort of use what I use and how I do it. Instinct basically for me. So starting off, my base of the mix is going to be banoffee. So I'm going to tip like probably half a bag or so in there of that. I'm not going to weigh it out and measure it in bits and pieces like that. I'm just going to do it that way. Can't fish anywhere in the country without F1 dark. Literally, I won't put too much of that in. I don't want it to darken the mix off completely. Then also, my go-to ground bait last year was Thatcher's normal, so on the Thatcher's dark now, clear water. So I'm going to tip probably half a bag of that in as well. Get it opened up properly. Blowing a gale, so make sure you don't lose any rubbish in that. Last thing we want. What I'm also going to do is I'm adding my fluoro rocks now. Obviously they're going to absorb a fair bit of water as it goes along, so rather than add them to the mix after, make the mix dry out really quickly. I'm going to add them to the mix now, then I'm going to show you a few tricks I can use later on in the session to make your ground bait work in different ways for you. So I don't want to tip loads of them in, so I'm going to use a shaker style here. And not trying to make the fish feed on these fluoro rocks, it's all about a bit of colour on the bottom or something to make things look at it. Lid back on. I'll get some water, mix it up and leave it for about 15-20 minutes before coming back to it. A bit more water, checking it, pushing it through a riddle, and hopefully after about an hour you should be somewhere near. I don't like rushing it, so it's a bit of a laboured process, but really worth getting right. Right, I'm going to start by putting my water in now. I've got a pint tub here, so I'm going to put probably 3/4 of it in to start with. Keep a bit by it. I'm going to, because I'm not mixing massive quantities, I'm going to go the old-fashioned way and use the old right hand give it a bit of a mix round. Not too thorough at the moment. I don't mind if it's going into big lumps and clumps like that at the moment, because it's going to absorb so much water so quickly. Literally give it a good mix round. That's it. Do my zip up. Leave it to one side. Gonna get the rest of my fishing kit set up. Come back and look at that in 15 minutes and show you pushing it through a riddle. Then maybe a few tricks later on. As you can see, it's dried right out now. Just the wind's taking it, blowing it away. Need to add a load more water to it really. Probably best part of 3/4 of a pint again. It might seem a lot, but fish meal and biscuit-based ground baits, like they all like to absorb so much water. So give it a good mix around again. What I've got beside me is I've got my riddle here. I'm going to put it on there just to try and get any of the big lumps out. So pretty good there. Because the ground bait's quite claggy now, I've got a bit of water, I can tip it onto there. You don't need 2 or 3 riddle buckets with you now, it's just one riddle straight on there. Give it a bit of a shake to start with. Try and get into sort of the main bit away. And then just take your time, there's no rush. It takes you 2 or 3 minutes, just get it right. Any big lumps just push through. You'll notice there, once it goes into the bottom, when you mix it again, it should somewhere be perfect. See, all them little rocks are going through perfectly now as well. They've all absorbed the water. It's probably the same size, just gone soft now. They're not hard anymore, they've gone soft. As quick as that. That now, literally 25 minutes of preparation. I've now got a perfect ground bait. If I want to squeeze it to one ball, if I wanted to throw it in, or do it really soft in the feed if I want it to explode on the surface. So there's so many different kind of things you can do with this kind of ground bait. But I'm going to go away now and show you a real good trip when the fishing's gone real hard, you can't get a bite. I've got one trick up my sleeve which normally gets a bite, so I'll go and show you now. Quickly going to show you now one of my top tips for bream fishing when it starts to get a bit harder. We're 3/4 of the way through the session now. We've caught a fair few bream, but the bites are starting to tail off a bit. So when it gets to this sort of point of the day, I always like to do this. Literally, it's just a couple of handfuls of ground bait into a fresh bowl. I'm going to tip it in some water, quite a bit, and I'll slop it up basically. And when I next feed 2 or 3 feederfuls, I'll cast out, it'll be quite sloppy. So add a bit of water there. It's got a bit too sloppy there, it won't stay in a feeder. So mix it up like this. It's like basically to like a sort of a soft paste. The idea being is when it hits the surface, it creates a big cloud falling through the columns of the water, and hopefully gets you that one bite when everything else is basically dead and nothing's working. So great top tip. Don't use it at the start because you'll mess your peg up. Literally, it's a last hour thing, or you can't get a bite anywhere else. Just slop it up and give it your best shot. Got another little tip for you here. We just had a couple of bream really quickly in the space of maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I've just gone about half an hour without an indication, a line or anything really. So I picked up my feeding feeder again and boshed out only 2 of them, but it's quite a lot of bait in 2 of them really quickly with no hook length on the same rod. Boshed really twice quickly, left it 5 minutes, had a cup of tea, chucked straight out on it, I've had a bream straight away. So it just goes to show sometimes we get stuck in a rut, keep feeding the same feeder, this one here, down the hole all the time, putting a bit of bait in, but sometimes it's not right, sometimes you have to change things up a bit. So I've switched to that, had 2 quick chucks out there, put a bit of bait down and caught a 9-pound bream first chuck after it. The only other tip I can give you about this is it's obviously the wind's picked up dramatically today, it's really, really windy now. So the other option is maybe to cast 4 times, but use the absolute XL window. That way you're still hitting your clip every time because of obviously the arrow effect of it casting as opposed to the cage casting out. So 2 top tips in one for you there. I've also got one last tip for you. Bream fish are notorious that they can be really finicky. If you bump a couple in the shoal, they spook really easily. So if there's a few in your peg and you're finding you're getting liners and you can't connect or can't turn them liners into fish, it's often worth just sticking like an ounce bomb on and chucking over the top and not having 5 or 6 feederfuls going over the head in a row. Just chuck a bomb for 10 minutes, see what happens. Obviously, if it's a feeder-only event like Feeder Masters or the Super League, you can't do that. So it's got to be maybe a little tiny 60 gram or 45 gram little window feeder. That way you get your accuracy and distance, but it's virtually the same as fishing a bomb. So great little tip. Try that one day. I think you'll be amazed at the results you get doing that. set myself a challenge this week to catch a 10-pound bream. I've achieved that today with 5 fish, 5 stunners like this, and numerous 7 and 8 pounders. I really hope you enjoyed my video of the tips and tricks to tackle wild venues like this, and I really hope to see you on the bank soon.